Wholeness, and you're watching Drake Next Vision. Today, I want to go into why we meditate. I know that there is a lot of information out there, especially, going from like Buddhism or some of these older religions and philosophies that talk about how you meditate and what it's supposed to look like and what the outcomes are going to be from that meditational experience. And through the years, I've dabbled in all kinds of meditation. But what I've come to recently in my understanding of why meditation is so important for this time in history, for where we are on this planet, isn't what you necessarily think. So stay tuned as I get into why we meditate. I just wanted to let you know who I am. I'm Drake. I'm a holistic educator and integrative soul guide, and I help people to become their very best selves. And I do that through helping them to identify their blocks, where it comes from, and how we can consciously create new patterning within the individual system to help them to create the life of their dreams. This channel is an opportunity for me to express all kinds of things that I've seen in working through people's energy fields, working as an environmental educator, working in outdoor adventure, working internationally, traveling internationally, and the accumulation of a lot of self-study. And so I'm really excited to share with you today these things that I have found through my meditation journey, especially. When I first started meditating when I was about 19, I would sit down on the mat, and the very first thing I ever started with was the inhale and exhale, where I just followed the air going through my nose and kind of going down and then watching it come out and feeling the way the warmth hit my nose on the outs and the colder air coming in on the ins. And it was effective and it was great, and I would probably follow it for a part of the time. But I would sit down, I'd start with the breathing, and then I'd end up in this other space where these stars would be flying by me. It was so beautiful, and it gave me really amazing incentive to actually sit down on the meditation cushion, but my thoughts weren't just totally gone. When I sat down to meditate, I would see my thoughts going back and forth all over the place, but the more that I breathed, I would eventually, if I sat there for long enough, which was usually about 20 minutes, I would drop into a different state, the state of no mind. And this was the place where all kinds of really beautiful visions would come to me, and I would see the stars flying by, but I'd also see all kinds of really beautiful imagery, and I'd get information about what was happening in the world and things that I would experience and the world would experience. And it was really cool. And that's not necessarily most people's experience with meditation, but as I continued to meditate over the years, I experimented with all types of meditation. I lived in India for a while, and I stayed in an ashram for a week and monastery for a week, and I did a Vipassana course later on, which was 10 days of silence and 10 hours of meditating every day. So I did 100 hours of meditation in 10 days. And that was really interesting because there was a whole philosophy around it where you would scan your body and you would see what would come up, and it was very connected with pain. As the retreat continued, you'd have these hour-long sits, and then there would be a break in between, but during the sit, you weren't supposed to move at all. If you could, you were supposed to just really breathe through it. And I'm an overachiever sometimes, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stay in this. I can do it. I can last the whole hour. And I did that over and over, and at the very end of the retreat, I was sitting there and, I was finishing up one of my last meditations, and I just felt like I was torturing myself. It was so excruciating. It was probably like, a pain in my back or something. And all I wanted to do was move. And my mind was like, nope, you can't. You have to stay in this because the practice says that you have to stay for the hour. And so when it got done, I realized that I just tortured myself for an hour because somebody else told me to. And what bullshit is that? Like, why am I listening to somebody else when I am uncomfortable in my body? And so I learned in that moment, if something is uncomfortable, sit with it. See if there's something that you can do about it. See if you can tolerate it. That's wonderful, build stamina, but eventually, if it continues to hurt and it continues to feel bad, move. And that goes for any relationship, that goes for any life experience. When it starts to get really bad and you are really hating your life, do something different. You are never stuck in that situation. There is always a door, even when it doesn't look like it. And so, I think I'm going on a rant here, but that was a big lesson that I took away from meditation. And also made me really not like these traditional meditation styles anymore, because you even have Buddhist philosophies where you hear about the story of, the person who's meditating and then they fall asleep and the master hits them and wakes them up because they need to remain entirely aware all the time. And that awareness is important. We do want to remain as aware as possible, and that comes with time as you work with meditation. But why is it that we're working to be aware? There is the aspect of being aware that helps us to see where our mind patterns come from. And when we do that, we can figure out a little bit more about ourselves, what programming is serving us and what is not. And then we can get more conscious about going into those past traumas, etc., that are keeping us from getting to live the life that we want to. And I speak a lot about this in my videos, but that's besides the point. I'm not going to get into that a lot right now, because what I want to touch on is that the primary focus of meditation is so that we can remain calm in the face of adversity. We are and we will continue to go through a lot of big shifts that are not going to be comfortable. We're all in this together. And the best leaders, the most profound human beings that will lead this planet into a better world are the people who are going to remain the calmest despite the chaos. The people that can remain as loving as possible even when there's a screaming person in their face. The person that even though there's a really traumatic situation happening in front of you, somebody's hurt, there's some big injuries going on, people are starving, you're able to remain calm, cool, and collected so that you can best serve those people. We're here to be of service to others, but we can't do that if we're running around like a chicken with his head cut off. It means you have to be present. It means that you have to be centered and be able to see the whole picture that's happening around you. When you're able to take a big, deep breath, even though you might feel a trigger coming up, so your initial reaction might be anger, if you take a big, deep breath and you can find peace within that, you might still feel anger, but you don't have to react. We don't have to do something that's just like an initial bleh. Anger uncontrolled is not a sign of power. And let me give you an example. So when I was a late teen, I dated this guy who was a dick and he cheated on me. And so I was at the gas station and I saw the girl who he cheated on me with, and I got out of the car and I was like, oh hell no. And I went to go beat her up, and my friends were holding me off of her and I was screaming at her in the parking lot. And eventually they got me into the car. That was a moment where I lost my shit. And that is not power, and a lot of people are like, oh, I'm badass, I'm gonna beat you, that's not actually cool. You got into the wrong relationship with somebody who treated you like shit. Learn your lesson and start choosing better partners. You have a friend who screws you over in some way. Choose better friends, shut the door. We want to hold on to things. We want there to be justice, and we're so intense on making people pay. At least in our culture, there is a big theme around that, A lot of people burn their bridges, they hold grudges. That is not strength. There is such an unhealthy world around us of people who are building up these walls, and they're building up their ability to connect with others. But strength is being able to stand strong and unaffected by the chaos going around you, and recognizing that if chaos is coming at you in a way that doesn't feel good, what are you going to do differently about your life in order to change it? Is there a way that you can get out? Is there a way that you can find support? And if there's not, how do you strengthen your own internal self, where that person might be trying to shake you, they might be trying to trigger you, but you don't let them trigger you. When you allow your anger to take over you because of somebody else's actions, you're giving your power away to that person. So that person's making you angry. That means that they have control over you. How does that make you feel that somebody else is able to control your personal experience? And how much better and more gratifying is it when somebody else is trying to trigger you and you no longer care? And then you just shut the door and you're like, bye. And then you move on with your life and you make better friends and you get into better circumstances and life gets better for you. Cultivating that inner strength to be able to be conscious of, hey, I deserve better. I love myself. I am worthy. I want something different. And being able to see what's not working in your life, that's the awareness piece. And then being able to consciously create what you do want, because you start choosing better friendships and you start acting like a better person because you're no longer reactionary. And so more healthy people want to be in relationship with you because they start to see that you're a safe space. People that are reactionary who get instantly triggered and angry are not safe people. Those are not people that I want to hang around. And it's one thing to be be angry. Those are natural feelings that come up in us, and you are more than okay to express those things, but you have to make sure you're doing it in a healthy way and in a way that isn't taking other people's energy, because there's also so many people that when they feel anger, they just want to bitch about it to like anybody who will hear. If you can be conscious about the stories that you're telling, you're going to be in a better position to be surrounded by people that actually want to hold you within those stories and help you to evolve those stories and help you to cultivate a life that is healthier and more loving. Within this, as we are becoming more peaceful, we're becoming less reactionary, this is the place where we can go into any situation and be the type of person who sees the bigger picture and is able to make more conscious decisions in order to find solutions, in order to help the situation no matter what it is. And in the years to come, I think that there's going to be a lot of really traumatic things that will continue to happen, and it will test us and it will be crazy, but there will be so much learning, so many beautiful lessons that will come out of these experiences as we continue to strengthen our inner selves and find mastery and our ability to merge our logical with our emotional and our spiritual and our physical as well. And we come into a state of wholeness where this wholeness is going to be the norm eventually, where all of the leaders of this world who are here to make a difference and create positive change, they're going to rise up. It's almost like you can see it as we each have all these different fragments of self and we're all in the water. But as we put ourselves back together and understand our wholeness and are able to remain our composure with composure, then we begin to float to the surface. And as we do that, we can look out and see the other people that are putting themselves back together and going up to the surface. And there's a calmness about it. You can recognize those people who are doing that work because they begin to vibrate at the same frequency. And it's almost like you're being sifted up and you begin to understand how you can collaborate with one another, and all kinds of synchronicities come about that basically provide the clues for you and your unique life experience to figure out what you need to do and what you can offer to the planet in order to help this collective healing that's going on right now. So go practice your meditations, practice the breathing, practice, looking at your thoughts, and practice being non-reactionary. When you see the thought, even when you're looking at something that usually would create an emotional response, begin to see that emotional response as the thought comes up. So if I see something that I don't like, I feel the response, you just breathe through it. And that's like the first step, is just getting a sense of what that feels like in your body as it arises. You see it and you're like, okay, I don't have to act on this. Like, there's nothing I need to do. It's in my body. Cool. How do I transmute this? How do I get it out? You can take deep breaths, put it into the earth. You can take deep breaths and blow out everything that you no longer need. There's a lot of different techniques, and I'll get into those more, but I wanted to talk about just this one a really important factor of meditation, because as leaders of the new world, we need to learn how to control ourselves, and we need to learn how to become more calm even in the midst of the storm, because that's where our power is. And we need every person, as many people as possible, to come to this place so that we can all ground in and speak from the heart place about the world that we want to see and what steps we're going to take in order to get there. If you've liked what you've heard today, please subscribe below, like, share with a friend, comment. I really appreciate your support, and I'm so thankful for the beautiful work that you're doing in your own lives to become your best selves, to become aware, to be kinder and more compassionate and more whole leaders for this world that is emerging in front of us. Have a really wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.